Hi, everybody. This is just a bit of a flash moonlight stream. It's going to be a pretty quick one. Can't say exactly how many minutes, but I don't know. I guess I just had some thoughts. I guess I just had a few thoughts from earlier today. So, with everything that's going on, you never know what, you never know what's going to come out next. With the people in our government, the current people in the government for. So I hope you guys are doing well on your Thursday evening / probably Friday morning if you're actually on the East Coast. Yeah, but there were just a few thoughts that I just had a little bit of time to reflect, and I've heard, of course, different people react to the whole, you know, Joe Biden concept of diversity, or it's a pretty narrow scope of diversity at that. But it's just I think it's just the point of the point of being manipulated and being demoralized, or because it's been going on for some time, and not many people speak out about it. They just kind of go along with it, or are they giving these kinds of comments a pass because they think that's the popular thing to do. I mean, it's easy to not push back, especially if you've been demoralized or in a position of destabilization for so long. You don't push back, but instead they'll push back on others. They will be a part of they'll actively participate in the neutralize the opposition, whether that means go out and be violent or rallying in the streets or whatever, but they won't push back. They won't make a conscious effort to push back on a thought. And I think, maybe the bigger takeaway is that, can maybe spin this another way and use it to the advantage in the community and say, hey, I'm going to think about what he's actually saying, and I'm going to, like, am I thinking? Sometimes people just need to hear the word think, because, I think we walk around on a regular basis, like, if you're not conscious of not thinking, you don't. Sometimes we take thinking for granted and we don't actually think. We just kind of go along, or we just become passive or become docile. And, the more you become docile, you become demoralized, or you even become demonized. But it's really time to snap out of that. I think it's just and that's for everybody. This is not the time in history, I think, to take the passive, or to take the novice role or the novice way out and just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna go with the flow, or go with the crowd because it's the popular thing to do, or it's the easier thing to do." Shout out to Garrett Reed. Garrett Reed, thank you so much for coming in. This is a flash moonlighting stream, and I'm it's just more like a reflection. It's a reflection moonlighting kind of a stream, because I was just thinking about the part of the stream earlier that almost turned into a rant, because it's a frustrating thing to see how docile and how passive people can be. I mean, especially in these times, there's too much at stake. There's too much at stake for the country. It's And it's like many times I've heard people that push back on whether you wanna call them Trump supporters or conservatives or whatever, you know, "Well, they," if it's something to the Second Amendment or I know when the lockdowns maybe initially began or the first pushback that maybe we saw, I'm not sure if it was in Michigan, maybe it was the Michigan State House in which, you had more of a peaceful protest there than you would ever have with what you see with this, with the neutralize the opposition or the what I call the paramilitaries, uh, the communist tactics that we see from these groups. But I've heard people in the community say, "Oh, well, those people they went to the state house with guns," and but I'm just thinking, well, if you're peaceably assembling, maybe you have an intensity with your assembly, but you're not harming anyone, you're not crashing anything, you're not firing, you're not discharging or firing your weapon, that's what they were doing. And I'm just thinking, well, you had the opportunity to do that too. But it's just any type of false narrative or any type of false equivalency or false or mischaracterization to justify being reckless is what I find people want to do. Let's see, I'm gonna read your comment. The socialists are able to steal the election and take control of the presidency. The idea of the United States is done. Absolutely. That's why I'm thinking this is a very fragile point in history. And I've said this to people in the community. I'm just saying, okay, well, rather than making this a black and white issue, if you can see past that, can you at least just look a little bit can you look a little bit to the middle? Why don't you go to the middle and just realize, you know what? If those white people that were in that White House or in that state house protesting, you know what? Guess what? If they lose their rights, guess who else loses their rights? And instead of you trying to figure out, well, what about their approach or what about their grievance that I'm not aware of? I mean, people are just so unmolested by knowledge or self-education or just even research. The internet has been around for a while now. And many and I'll say, okay, the baby boomers or whatnot, they may have resisted the technology, but the kids that may be related, that may be, referred to as Generation Z or even X, these kids have knowledge at their fingertips. They have knowledge, they have the resources in their hands, and they refuse. They have absolutely no interest. The kind of apathy that you might see is the same thing that I saw. Is the same thing I saw teaching college. They would rather invest their time in they would rather invest their time in things that are not really established. They don't really believe in history or context. Let's see. I'm going to read your comment. He says Argentina is turning communist, and many other South American countries are leaning that way because as a push towards. Well, I tell you this much, Garrett Reed. It's a strong force. It's a strong force, and I'm going to be honest, and I say this many times, not to be. I think the cynical part of me comes out. I have a really unsettling feeling about this upcoming election. I really do. I really do. It's an unsettling feeling because I just think that there's too many, shout out to you, Chrysler Imperial H. I just think that you still have people that don't realize they still don't have a clue what's going on. They still don't have a clue. And they're not doing anything differently. They're not even arming themselves with any knowledge. They're not improving where they are. They're not. They're followers. And, there's a segment that I want to do. I want to do a segment on Chicago and some of the and what was and some of the things that were some of the notorious leaders of insurgencies and domestic terrorists that have come out of that city. There's a segment that I want to do. I want to do an entire series on it. The rapper 10,000, nice to see you. He says the Black community is beyond lost if they don't wake up to the lies of the Democrat Party and the shaming language of if you do this, quote, then you ain't Black. Yes. And the thing about it is, it's interesting you bring that up, the rapper, because Joe Biden, somebody somewhere has told him that that's effective, that kind of shaming. But you see, the left does not accept shaming from conservatives. They do not accept shaming from, say, even a spiritual figure. They don't accept shaming from a Christian, but certainly they will use any tactic against Blacks. And you've got people that are literally docile, demoralized, demonized, and dumbed down. I mean, I just can't see. I just can't see how the same. It's this huge. There's too many dichotomies or too many factors. There's too many layers. It's like the very thing that I find, the very thing that they hate or they despise is the thing that they're begging for. They're begging for, I don't want to say acceptance, but they're begging for some type of inclusion, but they're begging for it from the but they wouldn't have to beg for it if it was coming from a real place, if it was a real base for it. It's not, it's a shaky foundation. And yeah, I'm just saying, it's just, it's very bothersome to me that, I guess I would, and when I was younger, I would have never known that the Joe Bidens really existed in this life, because as a kid, there's certain things you don't really challenge, or you really don't have the perspective or the convictions to challenge. But, of course, I read Malcolm X when I was younger, but I didn't quite understand the concept of, or I didn't quite understand the attributes of a Joe Biden, or a white liberal, if you will, liberal supremacist, if you will. I didn't understand what that actually meant. But it's very dangerous. It's very deceptive that same person that's pandering to you is actually the person that's doing the most damage to you. But when you think about it, but I think that the Democrats have trained Black people well. They have trained the community well to inflict the same kinds of destruction. I mean, you can be demoralized and you can be very well destroyed just by somebody in your own circle if they're not thinking for themselves. I mean, I've had people throw things at me, like the whole UT, the Uncle Toms, and the coon reference. I haven't gotten that, but I stick around. I'm sure I'll get it. But it's but you can that's readily available. It's readily available in the community. I heard somebody on another show talk about how kids that actually go off that kid a kid that might go to college and return, the kid might I mean, for crying out loud, if the kid comes back speaking, you know, talking about a theory or speaking of something that they learned, they could be attacked for that and say, "Oh, why are you're talking like a white person," or I don't know if this is I guess this is kind of a cultural reflection, I mean, of course, I've grown up with kids that say, "You talk like a white girl." I've even had one person refer to me as a white woman growing up. I mean, I had that was, this is this these are the kinds of things that are readily available. You don't have to look for it because you'll find it with the kids in the schoolyard, the kids in your classroom, and everywhere you turn. You don't have to look for it because it's there. But I don't know, but it's only black people can break the curse, can break the cycle. And you have many that just refuse to do it. I tell people all the time, look, I support people that peacefully protest. I do. And those people that went to the state house, I supported that. Yes, they had the right to protest, and I support them when they do that. All right, thanks so much for coming by, Garrett Reed. I really appreciate it. This is a flash. I rarely do flash moonlight streams, but this one, I guess that's why it's moonlight. Partly why it's moonlight stream. Um, the rapper says they know but choose to ignore that. Yeah, I mean, but that's what I was saying. It's I don't know. I think but for one, I can just think about Trump's Mount Rushmore speech. I'm just thinking, okay, we have to recognize also, I mean, how do we get the tentacles of liberals out of education? Because they've gotten their tentacles pretty deep in. I mean, they've got most of these elite universities or even just liberal universities. And I think that the liberal universities pretty much run the roost. I think most of the country is full of liberal universities. And they're also writing the books. They're writing the textbooks and they're also training your teachers. So, how do you stop the indoctrination or how do you prevent revisionist history? And then look at I mean, I covered a little the other day on this guy from Illinois who wants to do was LaShawn Ford, maybe his name was. He wants to take the history out until it's replaced with but see, that's the thing. For every one of these cancel culture things that they've proposed, they don't come to the table with an actual proposal. It's just a blanket statement. Okay, so Mr. Ford, you want to change or you want to remove history and replace it with what? Oh, well, he probably said, well, we don't know right now, but our community knows. It's no different than what was going on in Minneapolis right before they had their calls to defund the police. They don't have any we don't know. But we know the community has the answer. And now they're issuing guidelines on how to be robbed and how to survive your assailant in criminal activity right now. Now, who got duped in that situation? Not to mention that the city council is spending taxpayer money. See the rapper, we need to get armed and take out these SJW leftists. This is maybe go back to an all boys school and all girls schools. They're all black schools that are not forced to be diverse with other racial groups. Ay, ay, ay. I really appreciate you guys coming in. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just sick of, but I will tell you where it obviously didn't get out. I guess Simone Sanders didn't hear about this situation because I was waiting for her to release a statement and try to do damage control for Biden because she yeah, and it's funny how it's like that's she's like a handler or something. Like I gotta come out here and black explain for Joe Biden, and she was also the campaign manager for Bernie Sanders. So I'm just wondering, like, how I mean, obviously, we're not trending that much right now. We're not we didn't hashtag his quote on this one because the last one I think was that's the only reason that they're gonna come out, but of course the mainstream is not gonna cover it unless we drive the buzz, which I've seen it all over social media, but I'm not quite sure that it hit the Twitter feeds, because I think the Twitter feeds are, I think the Twitter feed is a direct line, and I'm not saying it's over. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But the thing about it is, Joe Biden is very comfortable in his element. He really is. And I think that's something that also happens with age. You start out with one, you know how to do you know how to make your public appearances or schmooze, but then eventually the truth comes out and it's what you've been thinking all along. And I think that happens with age. So the older these liberals, the older they get, I think they will expose themselves. But say hi, old head deuce. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you guys for coming in. Let's see, it says all what BLM leftists are doing are creating more racist and making people not want to bother with black people, right? If they go, but it's funny you guys say that, and I'm going to give you an anecdotal right here. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I have seen instances in where, like, this was before this year, like maybe even a couple of years ago, maybe even a year ago, that if you're walking down an aisle, I've seen people that, like, say for instance, a white person is walking down the same aisle, but rather than or walking down the same side of the shoe rack in a shoe store, but I don't know whether she was a liberal or what, but she just basically steps out all the way off of the air out of the area and lets me pass. Now, to me, I think that's offensive. Okay. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, listen, we can walk down the same aisle or in the same space. If you were to brush my shirt, it's not gonna be an altercation. It's not gonna turn into an altercation. But is it that, they've created such an environment that that they think that all black people are going to react or going to, you know, or going to spaz out on them? I mean, it's a toxic culture that they are setting up. I mean, I was just thinking like, "Oh, wow." I mean, it's not just one instance, I've seen it more than once. I'm just thinking, you need to just calm down. Like, I've seen people, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Like, that's the other instance, like, "Okay, what are you sorry about?" Just a simple "excuse me." But this hyper emotive, hypersensitive stuff where, you think if you pass a black person or if something haphazardly happens that they're going to explode on you or it's going to be an altercation. That is not that is just not civil. And to me, it's just not. It's not real. I think that in that case that the person is responding, this white person happens to be responding to some type of hyper racist crap, but it wasn't anything that I inspired. I just say, "Excuse me," and keep going. But then when you see all the other things that have happened, you see, people pulling out their cell phones, or if somebody brushes up against them and starts gut checking them, and, oh, come on. That's not real. That's not for real people. That's not for confident people. That's not for healthy, adjusted people. I don't care what your background is. I mean, I'm not walking around content under pressure, just waiting for some white person to maybe, "Well, I don't really understand that look. Why did she look away?" I mean, I honestly, to me, it's more of a mental thing. It's in their head. It's in their head, and they just can't, I don't know. And, so yeah, that was just, but it's the Joe Bidens of the world that have also contributed to these dynamics, contributes to the hypersensitive sensitivities. Rappers that are just mad for the sake of being, yes, like, I mean, like I said, I don't think anybody, I just think, I don't know whether it's a matter of, if you go to BLM's website, they have a affirmations. It's like, affirmations. I think that these some of these things are some of these ideologies are based on, they need affirmations nonstop. And I just don't think anybody can make you, if you're a good person, there's nothing that I can do to make you a bad person. If you're a good person, if you're a confident person, there's nothing that I can do to make you feel insecure about what you're presenting and what you're doing at the time in which you and I cross paths, or we encounter each other for the first time. But I just think, people are not dealing with them. They're not dealing with themselves. And then, of course, you just, it gets to be complex. And I think it would take generations to undo the kind of demoralization and the self, and the self-worth issues and the paranoia. It's a behavior. You have to this, like, it didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to be resolved overnight. But, this is the thing, it's such a dangerous time because, even certain things, like, I don't want anybody giving me affirmative action A's. If I decide to take a course or a B, I don't want an affirmative action B, or I want a regular B, or I want a regular A. Don't give me an affirmative action A or an affirmative action B, or an affirmative action C, D. I don't even want an affirmative action F. I don't want it. The rapper, this is, hates black men and won't address the murders done by other blacks, or the abortion by Planned Parenthood. No, I think what they want to do is they want to fund Planned Parenthood internationally. And that's a part of the UN agenda, is to make abortion available. And if they want it taxpayer funded right here on the domestic level. I know that, but I know that there's an inner, that's a billion-dollar industry and all their subsidiaries, and they want to make, because guess what, if you can fund that internationally, then of course, what is that industry going to do? It's going to grow. It's going to be a big moneymaker. So, and I'm just thinking, yeah, I mean, just about, I mean, they've made it possible to do everything under the sun except for, the conservatives and just can I say the normies are the ones that are suffering the most. I think they're going to implement these extreme gun laws. It's already on the floor. The House has already created was 5717, HR 5717. That is the extreme. I think that's the extreme gun laws. They're going to use This is exactly what, shout out to Unique View. That is exactly what Lightfoot is doing. She is making the case. She's already started talking about other states or contributing to. She's done nothing, but she's done nothing. But they're going to use this to what they're gonna call peace. They're gonna use this to drive the peace part of the UN agenda, and that means that's a disarmament. If you guys have ever seen, what is it, the outside of the UN, there's this statue, or this statue of an actual, gun that's actually, wrapped in roped, like, shout out to you, Cooking Inamo. How are you? Shout out to everybody that came by for the moonlighting flash. So yeah, the gun is basically, tied down outside of the, I think, the UN. But it's a part of their agenda to the disarmament. And I tell you, the disarmament started long ago. So yeah, and they always talk, it's the sustainability. So, I think we're under sustainability right now because we're being controlled. We're being controlled. I still This whole the mat with the mask, and and the thing about it is that the executive order is still not. Like the president's executive order versus the governor executive order. I want to do some exploration on that because I'm not sure how lawful that is. Like, governors don't make laws. Even the Supreme Court judges don't make laws, and they try to legislate they do things that appear to be legislation from the bench. And it seems like these governors have taken the same type of approach in these with the measures that they put in place. But I don't see it's just so inconsistent all over the country the standards that are in place. And I think they needed an oversight committee just to monitor, to get accurate, test results. We hear numbers, 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 numbers. But, there's no one that's actually, look who's here. It's about time. Thank you so much, about time, for coming in. It's been a long time. This is just a brief flash stream, if you will. I was just reflecting a little bit on just a brief. This is just a brief flash stream, and I'm just reflecting on Biden from earlier today. Yeah, black people, yeah, they do need to stop listening to entertainers for life advice or politics. The thing about it is, it's like they all. I said this thing about Oprah Winfrey coming out. There you actually have people sitting around waiting for Oprah Winfrey to tell you how to feel. Like, oh, give me a break. How can she tell you anything? She's. I've never understood it. At the end of the day, she's still just a person. Her. I mean, having money is a super. It does make you a superpower. I mean, yeah. She has no formal. I would imagine she does not have a psychology degree or a psychology degree. But honestly, when you think about it, I mean, she's been paid for her acting. So, I guess if she can be, it's the greatest experiment ever, if she can pretend to be, some type of specialist or whatever, how many people can she convince? Well, she's an actress. So she, she's probably impressed with herself right about now. She thinks I can do anything. He said, just about time. Nick Cannon 1 week, Oprah the next. Just oh, that dude's okay. You're bringing it all together. You're lassoing it all in for us. Thank you for that. Who's next? Who's next? Old head deuce after Oprah. About time. You're gonna pull down your video. I was gonna watch that. The rapper says, check out Will Johnson at United America First on the Joe Biden's comments of the day. Yes, I saw that. I saw that one that Will posted. It's a great compilation video. But yeah, I just want, who's writing his script? It's so these people actually believe what they actually believe, their own crap, their own garb. He said, next Tracy Morgan. Yeah, I mean, these Victocrats. But, it's a part of the role, I guess it's a part of the club. You're already in the club and you just have to. This is now SGWs are canceling kindergarten cop. Are you kidding me? He says Biden, okay, made this up tonight. Biden is just absolutely on. He's very intense. Most of his responses are, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. He's in and out. Like, but I mean, the thing about it is, it's just, I can't believe, I hope that people that were actually listening did not like, did you hear what he said? Did you miss any part of what he was saying? This is Biden. Bring in delirious elders now. Hey, shout out to DJ Vision Barnett. How are you doing? Appreciate you guys coming in at the 11th hour on the Moonlight Flash. Just, these. Yeah, that's all these kids can think about now. They're inundated with SJWs. They don't know anything. I mean, when was the last time anybody picked up a book? And the rapper says, what is Joe Biden going to promise Black people? KFC chicken for a year? The same pointless promises that Obama made. Yeah, I can't really, who knows? I'm telling you, I'm more interested in the VP, honestly. I'll put his comments to bed. But anybody that can follow that up. DJ says, "We ain't black. We ain't black and we are not diverse." But that's him getting a dig in at the black community because I think they know that they're losing, DJ. I think that they know that they're losing, so why not go ahead and do a backhanded dig and say, "Hey, you know, those Latinos, they are really, really, really diverse. They're diverse in thought, black, unlike black people, with the exception of, I don't know, where's your exception? Who are you referring to? You need to back that up and see. To me, that's why I'm saying that those mush mouth journalists, they didn't even challenge him on that. He didn't get any pushback. I mean, this is not even pushback. Just ask him, "Oh yeah, tell us about that. Tell us about how they lack diversity. Is it diversity in thought? Because if you're keeping with the what's the African or the African diaspora, then he's so far off the map. He's way off. And I'm just saying and that's why I was saying earlier today, I'm just waiting for somebody from the HBCU, anybody out there. Don't let me hear echoes. Is anybody going to challenge this guy on this bozo crap that he just said? I mean, Africana studies, that's a liberal playground. Why are they not challenging their own, what can I say, gatekeepers? Why aren't they challenging their own? Why aren't they charging Big Daddy? If we're going to go back to the plantation, why aren't they charging the master? Or, are they afraid they're going to be canceled? They can only go so far. Let's see. Sorry. The rapper says diversity of thought in my book is lost in the black community because every so-called black leader supports this idea. If you lead plantation, then you ain't black. You ain't black. Yeah, I did see in Portland. I don't know where was that? Is that where that was? It was in Portland. They were burning the Bibles. Yeah, I think these people are pretty dark. These are dark souls. I mean, when you think of people burning books, they really are trying to. They don't want to leave a trace. And gosh, and who knows what they're going to replace it with? It's ridiculous. Okay, DJ says Lightfoot in Dragons and ARs for and R's for Chicago. God, Lightfoot is a walking time bomb. She'd rather show how tough she is on Twitter than to do her job. She's so outraged with Trump. Meanwhile, the people are dying. Let's see. The rapper says, "I've gotten shamed for knowing military history and math. Black people hated me and my mother." Well, hey, I just take it, it's another insecurity there. It's, I don't know. But I just say it's gonna take some generations to if they just quit passing this transgenerational demoralization and quit passing this transgeneral victimhood, and with all this revisionist history, I don't know. It's gonna be, let's see. All I can All can do is watch your personal conduct and stay low key. And DJ says, Lightfoot of the uprising in the community on AR-15s from other states coming from a 2016 study. I see. I also heard a woman threw coffee on a man for not wearing a mask. I tell you. Mm. But to me, it's almost, yeah, I honestly, but I'll say this, and this is gonna be to my end, to the final, like, 'cause I'm gonna wrap up here in about 10 minutes. I just don't see that this is going to, I think that we're in the middle of something. We're in the middle of some type of war right now, and I don't see that November 4th, I don't think November 4th is gonna be the end of it. I don't. I think it'll either be more volatile. That's about the only thing I can see. I can't see it, really slowing down. The rapper says that they deeply forgotten what MLK and Malcolm X said because they support this pro-black mentality in us versus light-skinned people. Yeah, um, yeah, see, I think that's a part of the whole communist con in many of these movements because, like I said earlier today, "We shall overcome" did not originate in the civil rights movement here in the States. It was in Venezuela, not Venezuela, but, maybe it was Venezuela. No, or either Cuba. They both had similar, similar chants, and it was all based on some level of oppression. The movements were. Yep. Let's see, Old Head Dude says, "I don't want to be pushed into anyone's narrative." Hear he. The Unique View says the VP will be named very soon. I'm just curious. I don't know. I just think that they all have the assortment has the assortment of candidates, they all have the same filling, okay? Like an assortment of chocolate, they've all got same filling, same chant on reproductive rights, same chant on socialism. They've got this whole Medicare for all. Now, I do believe Biden said in his interview that he didn't think that he would get a Medicare for all on his desk. He said something to that effect. But ultimately, I think it might come down to whoever the most radical of these women are, the most radical on, because I think that person is actually Joe Biden would not be serving very long. He would not, in less than 100 days. I think he would be out of there. So I think it's going to be whoever, because first and foremost, I think that whoever this VP is, they're actually going to be the shadow president until he does step aside. Which I'm not convinced that we don't have a shadow president anyway. So there goes my tin hat installment. Yeah, but I'm just trying to think. I don't not. Let's see. AOC being a cabinet member is scary. Yeah, I think what is she attacking religion right now almost? Was it someplace? Was it Hawaii? I think maybe. Let's see. Well, it says she was attacking um, an immigrant's statue, Saint Damien of Molokai, Molokai or yeah, she's certainly straight out of straight out of the agitator's book. But you know, the Sunrise Movement is where recruited all four of those girls, and that is the future. That is the future of that party. And I know that I think Antoine Tucker is running against her. Um, yeah, I mean, I think he has an Instagram page. I don't know if he has a YouTube channel, but I think he's running against her. But I think quite a few people are challenging them, so I don't really know. I know there's a few places around in my neck of the woods where there's a bunch of seats open and they're just going to be filled by incumbents because there's no challenger. There's no conservative challenger. And so I guess, you know, if you can run for an office, then you should try to do it if you can. Like I think they say school boards and that kind of a bit. School boards and positions and lots of positions are open. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you guys so much for taking the care and coming in. So, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to wrap up here. And I really appreciate you guys for coming on such short notice. And I'm not sure about tomorrow right now. As of right now, I'm not going to stream tomorrow, but I will think about it. But I think I did an announcement earlier today that we're going to go to like a Monday, Wednesday at 9 a.m. I think the 9 o'clock hour is going to be a better hour to do. Better to do. The rapper says Judge Mathis. Where's my okay? Judge Mathis was my favorite TV judge, but he supports these black groups. So I have heard him call out the hypocrisies of the BLM. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. And like I said, maybe we'll see what's going on for the weekend. I may do another stream during the weekend, but not sure about tomorrow. So I need to get some videos out. So right now there's no stream scheduled for tomorrow, but maybe you can anticipate some videos coming out. And then for the weekend, I don't know, I may do something. But hope you guys have a great rest of the night. And let's see. I really appreciate it. Ay, ay, ay. Thanks so much, guys.